Hey everybody, this is Sohan and welcome to another episode. I have with me Sreeraman Thiagarajan, who is the co-founder of Agrahyah Technologies, which is India's first voice agency. And Sreeraman, so tell us, what is a voice agency?
Thanks, Sohan. Great to be here. So, a voice agency is typically a full service setup which can handle the technology with voice assistance, Alexa skills, AVS implementation. At the same time, also the persona, the UI, the VUI, the audio content or the text content, all of it under one roof.
Okay.
Typically, digital agencies were great in, or any advertising agency is great in communication and content. And then there are tech shops, software companies that are good in tech.
Yeah.
So brands sometimes struggle to balance these two separate teams. And we put them all together under one roof, and we call it as voice agency.
Okay, that's really interesting, and I think we didn't really have voice agencies before.
Yeah.
Right. And so today's conversation is going to be centered around building a voice agency and how do you make building on voice like a viable business. So tell us, Sreeraman. So what was your background, and how do you get into voice specifically?
Right. So in my previous job. 4 years I was the vice president of digital in Publicis. It's one of the largest advertising agencies in the world. And my other co-founder Rishabh, he is a computer engineer and he has run an agency himself, tech agency himself, right? This third co-founder. So we came together and we wanted to build solutions for the next billion users, and that's where voice fit right into our agenda because it can transcend language barriers.
Yes, absolutely.
And Alexa plays a very central role in it, right? So 2 years early, we were working on experimenting a lot of things when Alexa was officially launched in India.
Okay.
And we got some brands also excited about what can the brand do on Alexa, and thus began the voice agency business.
Nice. So Sreeraman, tell us a little bit about how you can actually build a viable business around voice. And so I do a lot of workshops, I do a lot of conferences, and people ask me this, and I get the feeling that they're interested in, but they don't want to take that step.
Right.
And you've clearly you've taken that step. It's been successful, and it's growing so much. And maybe you can tell us a bit about that later. But how do you go about creating this viable business around voice?
So you will have to get mission critical use cases from an enterprise or a brand.
Okay.
First that, right?
Yeah.
Until it is a need to have solution for a brand, they are not going to be serious about having a voice agency on board and building it.
Right.
So there are 30,000-40,000 skills, but if you are going to build the 31st,000th skill, which is one more trivia or joke, it's good if you are a solo developer.
Yes.
It gives you experience, exposure, and you might be a super hit one-off skill.
Yeah.
But if you are running a voice agency, we are 32 people now. Right? We have wherever there is Alexa, we are also trying to build our solution there. Right? On smart home devices, yes. On Alexa, third-party endpoints like a Bluetooth speaker, AVS integration there. Alexa on automobiles, yes. Right. So wherever there is Alexa, we are trying to find mission-critical solutions for brand. Okay. And that pays the bills.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. So maybe you can talk us through some of these businesses and brands that you worked with, because at Agrahyah, I know that you'll have worked with a whole bunch of enterprises and brands, and you've taken their voice strategy to the next level, right? So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So for example, we have SBI Life Insurance. Right? It's as mass as it gets. It's a national brand.
Yeah.
So their journey to voice is three-pronged approach. We call it as information, service, and delight.
Okay.
So information is 5 years ago, or you would have a mobile app. 10 years ago, you would have a website.
Yes.
Right. Now it is time to have a voice equivalent of a website. Right? Can you have all the information about your brand, your company, your services, your product available on an Alexa?
Right.
Some customers might just ask, "Hey Alexa, tell me what policies I have for cancer protection in SBI Life," which should be able to tell that. So we call this phase as information phase, and we have done with this. So the next phase for SBI Life Insurance is service. That is, hey, what is my policy premium date? Right?
Yeah.
How much is my NAV value in my...
So it's personalized to that particular user. Okay.
So instead of customer going to a contact center branch or talking to a financial advisor, they can self-serve with their Alexa device. Third piece is delight. This is where storytelling, podcast, branded content made available through the voice assistant itself comes into play. So these are the three-pronged approach we have for any brand.
Got it.
So SBI Life is done with phase 1. We are working on phase 2 and phase 3.
So again, that's interesting. And Sreeraman, let me pick your brain on this because I know you work on a platform called Avaz, which has to do with podcasts. And so, how do you look at like a brand like SBI and that sort of content coming in voice, and what role does that play in the voice space?
Right. So I'll take another example of this. There's a brand we work with, Tata Mutual Fund. They started straight with a delight piece.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do investor education. What the solution we recommended was just saying mutual fund is good for you, does not cut ties to somebody who does not know what is mutual fund.
True.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And their focus was the insight was that the B30 cities are contributing more to mutual funds than the urban.
Okay.
So it obviously made sense to do it in a non-English language. So ours being a podcast platform, audio, spoken word audio platform, we put it all together and we created an investor education initiative called Ishq Bhi Risk Bhi.
Okay.
The name doesn't sound like investor education.
Yeah.
It's by design, right? It's actually, there are 3 characters in it, Sandeep, Priya and Swati. It's a love story.
Okay.
But the boy is very aspirational and wants to say yes to all the girls' wishes.
Okay.
And his wise uncle gives him advice on mutual fund, how he must save to, reap the benefits later. Now all of this is directly in the delight phase, a branded story available. Now we are working backward to make that service plus, to make that information plus, and of course this audio content will also be integrated into the Tata Mutual Fund Alexa suite.
Okay.
So they wanted to quickly do something while the tech process were taking time. You have to integrate it with the CAM system and whatnot for accessing your mutual fund. They said we want to do all of it. We'll get the sweetest part of the deal first.
Right.
So that worked.
And I think that's really interesting because I don't see the same sort of approach on, say, a mobile or a web earlier, right? Where a customer would have worked around this sort of innovative content and then sort of figured out like a mobile app behind it.
Right.
So do you think that is a big difference in how a company or even like a small agency should approach voice?
I would not like to templatize so that somebody following this conversation should not be misguided.
Right.
But if the brand warrants, you start directly at a delight piece. Let me take example of what we did with Shah Rukh Khan. The movie Zero.
Yeah.
He has a peculiar character, Bawa Singh.
Bawa, yes.
Right? So he's a beloved character, he's very quirky, he has the ability to share shairis and jokes. We worked with both the Red Chillies, the Shah Rukh Khan company, Amazon and us. Together we made Bawa Singh experience on Alexa. Right? When you're talking to Alexa, it's actually, you get the response back in Shah Rukh Khan's voice. It required recording with him, then putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
So now, in this case, there is no service plus model that I told you. Nobody has an account with Red Chillies.
Yeah.
So it made sense to directly go into the delight piece because consumers got a piece of Bawa Singh before the movie released. So it was fun. It was one of the most talked about skill in that time.
Got it. Yeah.
So I would say that understand the brief from the brand and then go about creating a solution. It works better than templatizing it.
Got it. Wise words, thank you. So shifting gears a little bit, Sreeraman, let's talk a little bit about a traditional agency model itself, right? Where there is a brand, they approach you and things like that. Again, I've met with a lot of agencies who are working on voice or, who have like a mobile agency or a web agency. They're getting into voice, but they're like, hey, we're not able to, crack which brands to approach. We're not able to figure that out. What worked well for you basically?
I agree, and this is the common problem faced by most of us. Even we have faced that in the past too, a little bit. One thing we need to do to mitigate this risk is unlearn.
Okay.
I would say 2 things because we have learned everything about the digital business in the age of touch.
Yeah.
So your GUI has been your primary guide.
Yes.
Right?
Everything has been screen based.
Correct.
Yeah.
So agencies that want with visual delight, they will present you such beautiful designs, such beautiful UIs. Now, when you go with that approach on a VUI, you take away touch, you take away sight.
Yeah.
How do you create the same delight in voice? And when you're going for a meeting, you have a present PPT in front of you.
Right. Yeah.
How do you explain the possibilities voice unfolds for that brand?
Yes.
When all your life you have been trained to think of visual.
Yeah.
Logo bada karo. Whatnot, right? So
let this logo pop out a little more.
You can do that here.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because in Alexa's voice, if you're banking with Bank A or Bank B, Alexa's voice is the same.
Correct.
Now, how do you differentiate a private sector bank from a public sector bank?
Yeah.
Now, can you do that? Can you go to a brand manager with that and approach that, look, this is how we are differentiated in the voice world? Then you don't have to face the problem, right? So if you're listening to this and if you are an existing mobile agency, digital agency and having that problem, please give a lot of attention to VUI,
Mm-hmm.
try to unlearn everything you learned about GUI.
Yeah.
That will be your best bet to win businesses.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And even for something like a logo, I don't think too many brands have really thought about how their brand sounds like.
Right.
They've looked at, like colors and fonts and things like that.
Yeah.
But audio cue is actually very strong. Like you can play any ad from the 90s, like 2 notes, and I'll recognize which brand that was, right? Because we're so used to seeing those jingles on TV. So I absolutely agree with what you said, Sreeraman. And anything else that you did in this phase, when you were looking out and getting clients?
Yes, we did. We have had multiple workshops we have conducted for different cohorts of people.
Okay.
Right? Alexa Meetup, endorsed by you guys.
Yes.
So that is for developers, and that also works as a catchment area for us to meet more developers.
Sure.
Some of them have joined us and those kind of things, right? And we do workshops for CXOs and decision makers. So we have got brand heads, marketing heads, those kind of people join us for a 4-hour workshop where we talk about unlearning everything you know about GUI. Right?
Yeah.
And that gives them a entry into the possibilities in a voice first world, right? And we kindle their imagination and we say, this was possible, this is possible. Oh, okay, now I know, right? Once they attend a workshop, we do an entire design sprint with them. It starts with creating user persona. Okay, an average homemaker, she's sitting in a home, she has Alexa in front of her. What is she likely to ask? You think she will directly jump into buying a mutual fund? It's unlikely.
Absolutely.
So, where can you start the voice conversation with that customer?
Got it.
How can you help? So one thing we advise them very clearly is it's called an assistant for a reason. All voice assistants are called assistant for a reason. Right? Default persona of an assistant should be like a butler, like a helper. If you don't have the attitude or the tonality of a helper, no brand is going to succeed. Right? So we kind of give all this insights. We immerse decision makers into this. 3 months later, they come back with a brief. Hey, this quarter we need to do something about voice. So that pays off. Okay.
Again, very interesting, I think. And so recently, as our viewers might know, and obviously you know that we launched Hindi on Alexa.
Yeah.
And you know that, and you just mentioned, the next billion users, and that's where the growth is going to come. And Avaz, of course, targets or, really looks at a lot of people who are like Hindi first, who listen to a lot of Hindi content. So where do you really see Alexa and Hindi? You think that it opens up more doors? Will brands want to engage more, that sort of thing?
Absolutely. See, it's very simple philosophy in all of this. Voice is the input, audio is the output.
Got it. Okay.
It can't get any easier than this, right? End of day, all voice assistants are in some kind of speaker, whether it's a eco device or it's a companion app or in your automobile.
Yes.
It has some speaker, or even on TVs, Fire TV, wherever, right? It's on some speaker device. So you speak to it, what comes out is 9 out of 10 times it's an audio form of some content. It could be music, it could be your reminders, it could be shairis, jokes, whatever it is. So that's how we see, audio content being enhanced by voice assistant and vice versa. One leads to the other, right? Because audio content gives more meaningful reasons for somebody to continuously use voice assistant. Yeah. Because how many calendar alerts are you going to set in a day? True. Most of the time somebody sends you a calendar invite. Yes. Right? Yeah. So productivity functionality, yes. But content driven, for sure. That gives you longer session times, more frequency. So we see rise of audio content, our own platform, ours. Some of them, if you know that pieces of ours powers some of the Alexa skills. Hindi jokes.
Yes, and yeah. And so you just mentioned something very interesting, which was people using voice in their cars as well. And so at least from the Alexa team, we have this idea of Alexa everywhere, which it's not just this Echo Dot that sits in your living room and you play music, but it's this idea of using voice interfaces everywhere. So that could be in your home, in your office, in your car. Do you really see that in the future? And have you worked on anything in that regard as well?
Yes. So it's exciting times. 2 years ago when we started, we were building jokes.
Right.
Today
we very popular jokes.
Yes. Thank you. So thanks to Sunil Pal and the sense of humor. But today we are working with a leading automaker in the country. They are really leading in their segment. And we are developing a connected car experience. Right? Sitting in your living room, you can check the car engine health. You can start and turn on the AC in your car. You can check for if the headlights are on. You can, Sunday morning, 6 o'clock, your car cleaner comes to wash it, you have to wake up and give the key. Now you just tell your Alexa the car is unlocked. Right? When he's done it, you can lock it back. Right? So whatever, the convenience of controlling a car when it's stationary, of course, is made possible through Alexa. We are working on it hands-on. It also helps your loved ones to keep a check on where your car is. If you ask, it will give you a contextual answer. It won't give you that long. It will tell you it's near Yeshwanthpur. It's
like
near Khan Market. It will give you contextual responses. So it's not creepy like tracking you. At the same time, it gives you a sense of connectivity with your loved ones, because you don't want to call them when they are driving. So you can find out where the vehicle is.
And I think again in someone's car is a perfect example of where voice really fits in. Right now, the kitchen is a room where Alexa is most widely used because your hands are always busy, right? You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're cutting, and I think that's the same with cars.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be using your phone and texting, or like even maps and things like that. But with voice, it's just so much easier. You're driving, you can look at the road and still have that.
So at least kitchen, your hands are busy, your eyes are free. Car, hands and eyes both are busy, right? You can't afford a nanosecond of distraction.
Exactly, especially on Indian roads.
Any road, but for sure an Indian road.
Got it. So, how does all of this come together in 2020 for Agrahyah? Right, we are just going to start a new year. So, where do you see this coming year?
It's so exciting. We are jumping off the walls because next month we are opening our office in New York. Our business presence in New York. We already have one active client there. There's more. So that's great. We are, like I said, we are working with all endpoints of Alexa, whether it is AVS system integration on Bluetooth speakers and third-party devices, whether it is developing skills. Even in skills, there are two components to it, like consumer-facing, like I said, Bawasing and Hindi jokes and recipes. And there are extremely B2B use cases. We are working with ERP companies. You tap Alexa and ask what was sales in Maharashtra last week. It will tell you the number. No Excel sheet, no CSV, no control F, right? So there are so many use cases. Each one, like I said, are mission critical. There's a brand willing to put some money on getting this done. So all of this is unfolding in 2020 across sectors. I have mutual fund companies, I have consumer electronics, I have dal and salt. We have all kinds of
FMCG brands.
So all kinds of categories and all kinds of brands with us. So it's really exciting to be entering 2020 with so much happening in voice space.
That's amazing. So I have two questions before we close. So one is a question that I ask all our guests, right? Which is, where do you really see the future of voice? And I'm not talking like 6 months down the line or 8 months down the line, but I'm saying like either 4 years down the line or even 10 years down the line. Like, where do you really see this future going?
Right. 2008-9 was a huge wave, which I waved by because it was mobile wave and I was way too young to think so deeply into the future, right? And today it has put some 3 billion smartphones, smart computers on everybody's hands. Right? So it was a natural progression from a PC to a hand-sized computer. Now voice, obviously, your own philosophy, Alexa everywhere. So voice is going to be more omnipresent in a microwave, in AC, in the confines of your speakers, in your automobile. So people are going to get used to getting things done in conversational mode. Right? They expect other devices to respond to them with voice. Right? It will become a de facto maybe in 2 years or 3 years. So a device, any gadget or any consumer appliance without voice will lose out in their sales. It's like launching film camera and digital camera era, right? So it's going to be that way, right? It's going to be omnipresent. It's going to be everywhere. So brands would want to create a lot more contextually relevant conversational way of interacting with their audience. Not everything leads to selling more stuff, right? If you're a microwave brand, if I throw in popcorn and say popcorn, it should understand it's popcorn and set the temperature by itself. I don't want to be messing around with the dials. Right? That's what I mean by voice everywhere, right? It could be in a camera. Imagine you're in a outdoor photography and you just tell your camera, switch it to outdoor mode. Right? I just need that kind of conversational input, right? I don't want to be messing around with anything. So we see that happening in the short term, like 2 years, which will come in 5 minutes. So that's how we see it, and we see every other business will see how seriously they have taken mobile strategy. They will take voice strategy extremely serious.
Got it. And last question before we wind up is, do you have any last words of advice for people who want to start a voice business? Because I know there are a lot of people, I know there are freelancers who want to do this, I know there are existing companies. But I think a lot of people, like I said, are like afraid to take that plunge, or they're still maybe a little apprehensive. So do you have any words of advice, etc.?
Sure. So if you're going after the big clients, you need to have a lot of patience and perseverance, because they do not have the imagination of possibilities that can happen on voice. Okay. That is one thing. So you have to go with proof of concepts, demos. So do you have the time and wherewithal to do it for 20 brands before one of them signs off? Right?
Got it.
Second one is there's a lot of decision making that takes time when you want to connect their database to a Alexa skill, right? Yeah. So there are large companies that are responsible. A bank is not going to open up an API to you just like that, right? Yeah. And if you are a small shop with 3 employees, it's going to be even hard to get a bank to sign you up, right? Yes. They're going to ask you to deploy something on-prem. It's not going to work. None of this is going to work. So maybe you can start off with large companies but non-transactional level skills. Build consumer experiences, like build branded content, build FMCG experiences where there is no database and no APIs and tokens and all those serious stuff. And I would say you need to have a comprehensive team. It doesn't have to be a dozen. It has to be one rockstar VUI, one content person, and one tech person.
Right? Yeah. It's because not only the tech.
Because tech is kind of easy. I mean, you guys have great tools to develop Alexa skills. It's fairly easy. But like I said, can you differentiate brand A from brand B? Both have offering the same services to consumer. That's where the VUI and the content person comes into play. And VUI is nevertheless, most of the time, what VUI you start the project is not what VUI it ends when you roll it out to the live production, right? Because you see so many corner cases coming in. You might have kept all of them as non-happy path. Well, let's focus on happy path. But the day you build happy path, 4 people testing it, all of them came to the error path, right?
Absolutely.
So then you say, okay, let's factor this in, factor this in, factor this in. So you need to have that maturity to give a better VUI right on the first day. Right. So that's what I would say. Start with a comprehensive team. Have a lot of patience to get enterprise clients, or you can always work with larger agencies. Because they have access to brands.
Right. And you obviously these agencies.
You have expertise in voice, they have expertise in communication, creating campaigns. It works well.
Alright. Well, Sreeram, that was very, very enlightening. Thank you so much.
For having us.
Thanks for coming all the way to our office. Wish Agrahyah all the best for 2020, and we can't wait to see the experiences that you all build on voice. So this is me signing off. Again, thanks to Sreeraman. This is me signing off for this edition. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye.